My Hybrid Children by R.M. Almonte. Vic steps out of his building onto the stoops to buy milk late at night. He shivered a bit as the wind brought in an October chill. He put his hood over his head, when something from the corner of his eye caught his attention. A metallic ball that sat a little above the 5-story buildings on the block. He rubbed his eyes and then pinched his arm. Yo, I'm tripping, but I didn't drink today. He took a few gasps of air and held his chest. A bright light turned on. He banged himself up against the door as he tried to run in and lost his balance. He covered his eyes. They felt like if 1,000 microscopic matches had been lit. His instincts kicked in, and as his feet moved, he felt they weren't beating the pavement. He looked down and everything was becoming smaller and smaller. His arms flailed wildly as if he was drowning in the ocean, twisting and turning somehow, trying to swim back to the shores of the stoop. As he got closer to the light, he felt like if he was roasting on a BBQ, and just when he started to say his goodbyes, everything went dark. He was straining his eyes shut. He opened his eyes and he was holding his knees like if he was going to do a cannonball into a swimming pool. He stood up and looked around to see an all-black room. The shine of the room reminded him of a car after it had been waxed and polished. There were no doors nor windows he could see. He balled up his fist and kept them by his side. Hello? Where the am I? He kept turning around looking for any door or window. Maybe he had missed it. I'm an American citizen. I have rights. His foot flew to the closest wall, hitting it like a karate teacher breaking wood. The wall reverberated back, knocking him on his back, and he slid a couple of feet back. He jumped back to his feet. Where am I? He heard a woofa sound and jumped around with his hands up in a fighting stance. His eyes became glazed to the window. It was the moon staring back at him, and not at the distances he was used to. It was so close that he could describe every crater and grain of sand. He laughed to himself while his body shook a bit. Yo, why you messing with me? He put his finger over the window, looking for proof. What's that, some kind of 4K video? Nah, fam, if you want to scrape, get at me, nah mean. Then he heard the sound again. He jumps around again, with his throat constricting like a boa around his neck. Standing in the door were two gray aliens like the type you would see on the History Channel. They were about the size of two 10-year-old children, big black eyes staring at him coldly.
His eyes popped out, his heart racing, and he backed up a couple of steps. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a box cutter. He clicked it up to only an inch.
Don't think I won't cut you,
He said as he waved it wildly, feeling like a cornered cat.
Please relax, we won't hurt you.
He heard its voice inside his head. He looked from one being to the other. He lunged forward, and when he got a few feet from them, he jumped up in the air, pulling the box cutter all the way up. He was going to come down with his body weight to slice them like a tomato. But he hit something that felt like jello. It was invisible, and he was stuck a foot off the ground. The more he struggled, the tighter it became. He bobbed back and forth, but to no avail, as if he was sinking in quicksand.
Please relax.
The being went up to him and took the blade out of his hand. We will give it back to you when you return to your planet. He continued to struggle.
Let me out here.
The being on the left pressed a button on the wall outside of the room, and his eyes closed. His eyes blinked, and he stretched and yawned after a good night's sleep. Then he saw their gaze.
We can keep doing this, or are you ready to relax?
He thought about it for a second.
All right, I will chill out.
He said to them. They stared at him for a few seconds and put him down. He was about to open his mouth when the being on the left put his hand up.
I know you have many questions, and I will answer them all. Please follow us.
They walked out of the room, and the same black metallic walls were throughout the ship. They walked into this room that has a view of Earth and the moon on the side. The Earth was tiny in comparison to the moon. Where a console should be, there was a crystal ball.
We brought you here for a very specific reason. We want to inform you that you have 2 children aboard this ship.
Wait, what? What do you mean I have children?
His face twisted in all kinds of awkward gestures.
Yes, we have followed your family's lineage for at least 1,000 years, and every once in a while, we choose somebody from your family and couple them with another family. We mix our DNA into it and create a hybrid child, which we then populate another planet with. We want you to meet your children. They are very eager to meet you.
Vic's mouth was so wide open that he could have easily swallowed a swarm of flies.
I don't remember ever having children.
He twisted his head to the side, thinking back.
No, you wouldn't remember. This is not the first time you are aboard our ship. We took a woman's egg and fertilized it with your sperm. You have a boy and a girl. The boy's name is Raphael and he is 5. The girl's name is Mildred and she is 3. Would you like to see them now?
Yes, of course.
He was dumbfounded. His heart pumped, and the smile on his face was from ear to ear. 2 children walked in. They had big, cheesy smiles. Compared to humans, their eyes were a little bigger but smaller than the Grey's eyes. Vic has hazel eyes, but their eyes are electric green that resemble sapphire. The same was for their nose. Very skinny nose and small nostrils, thin lips and oval-shaped heads. He knelt down and his heart turned to butter on a hot day. The girl's resemblance to his mother was uncanny and the boy was a spitting image of him, except for the shape of the eyes and nose. He opened his arms and they ran towards him. They tackled him down like a quarterback.
For the next few years, I spent time with them on a far distant planet that was full of human hybrids, teaching them about my Dominican roots and culture. But the most important thing I showed them was affection. Turns out, according to the Greys, when humans don't have affection, they have psychological meltdowns. Since Greys are incapable of showing affection, they bring their parents. I was loving my new life with my 2 children. I don't remember ever being so happy in my entire life. When the children reached the age of 10 and 12, the Greys told me I had to go back, but no way would I leave. "I'm not leaving my children," I yelled at them, and pushed the children behind me. My eyes became heavy, and everything became a fog. My mind was awake, but I had not opened my eyes yet. I heard a little girl say, "Poppy, don't worry, we'll be fine. We love you." I opened my eyes, and I was back in my apartment. I reached for my phone and checked the time. It had only been half an hour after I left the house. I scanned the room and saw the milk, but I had no recollection of buying the milk. Wow, what a dream, I said to myself, and then noticed sitting next to the milk was a hairband. I picked it up and on the hairband it read, Mildred.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe and hit the like button.